And tonight's daughter is Nelson's Navy, Alan Smith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me at the back? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, superheroes come in all different shapes and sizes. Batman, Superman, Superwoman. It's very difficult to imagine that this gentleman, Horatio Nelson, standing at 5'4" tall, with only his left arm in place, without a right eye, who was seasick from the first time he ever set foot on a ship and continued that throughout his career. And yet he would become, without a shadow of a doubt, the most celebrated hero of the British Royal Navy, leading them to the most important victory at the Battle of Trafalgar and securing their position as the dominant naval fleet for the next century. Arguably, Horatio Nelson is the most successful war hero in Britain's history. My interest in Nelson's Navy was first stirred in 1967. At the age of 18, growing up in Dordon in Seaham, I left the Northeast to take up a place at City of Portsmouth College of Education to train to be a teacher. In my first term at the college, I went out on teaching practice in a local school. As an integral part of that teaching practice, I took a class of 10-year-olds on a visit to HMS Victory in Portsmouth Dockyard. On that visit, we were guided by sailors. In those days, there was a squadron of sailors based on HMS Victory, and they took you around and they stirred you and fascinated you and told you stories of how it was, probably half of them made up, but it fascinated me. I loved it, and the children I was with loved it. HMS Victory was a 104-gun, first-rate ship of the line, ordered in 1758 and launched in 1765. She is best known for her role as Nelson's flagship at the Battle of Trafalgar. My visit to Victory on that day left a lasting impression with me, and also on my head, because the deck sizes are 5 foot, and I found it virtually impossible to walk between decks without cracking my head. In July 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte, who had led France to many notable victories in Europe, he wanted to further enhance France's power through an invasion of Britain. That's what he wanted more than anything else. He said, "All I need is 10 hours. That'll be enough for me to get across the channel with 150,000 disciplined and victorious soldiers upon a coast destitute of fortifications and undefended by a regular army." He thought we were there for the taking. The stumbling block to any such invasion was the British Navy, who ruled the English Channel and whose dominance of the seas was such that any invasion force would be blown out of the water. If Napoleon were to invade Britain at any time, it would only happen with the support of a powerful, dominant French fleet. He was desperate to achieve that naval supremacy. And the conclusion of that desperation was the Battle of Trafalgar. The Battle of Trafalgar on the 21st of October 1805 was a massively significant date in British history. It was a naval engagement fought by the British Navy against the combined fleets of the French and Spanish navies during the War of the Third Coalition of the Napoleonic Wars. Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson left Portsmouth on board HMS Victory on the 14th of September 1805. The British people were fully aware of the significance of the time. Events of 1805 were just as significant as the Battle of Britain in the Second World War, when the courage and resilience of the RAF prevented a German invasion. Napoleon's proposed invasion of Britain would only be halted if the British Navy continued to rule the waves. The Battle of Trafalgar took place in the Atlantic Ocean off the southwest coast of Spain, just west of Cape Trafalgar. 27 British ships of the line defeated 33 French and Spanish ships under the command of this gentleman, the French Admiral Villeneuve. The Franco-Spanish fleet lost 20 ships during the engagement, and the British lost none. An amazing personal account of the battle is given by a seaman called Harding Hall in a letter to his mother in Horns Lane in Sunderland. A copy of the letter is held by our own society, and it vividly describes the absolute mayhem on board. He was on HMS Colossus, the 74-gun third-rate ship of the line. He further recalls personally Nelson's message to his fleet saying, "England expects that every tar will do its duty," which is not in keeping with the message that we're generally given, but Harding Hall recalls it as just that. During the battle, Hall suffered wounds to his throat, shoulder, and leg, and describes decks afloat with blood. HMS Colossus, battered and shattered, limped into Gibraltar. It is quite fascinating that a gentleman, Harding Hall, a seaman, wrote such a very long, well-presented letter to his mother at a time when the vast majority of seamen, in fact, the vast majority of gentlemen in this country, wouldn't probably even be able to write. Harding Hall was a pressed man, and we'll talk more about pressed men. He was pressed when he was 45. His skills were highly valued, and after 10 years' service, he was discharged with ill health. He came back to Sunderland, he worked as a keelman, and he lived to be 90, which in itself was quite an achievement at that time. Victory at Trafalgar that day was followed by 100 years of British naval supremacy. Britain ruled the waves. It was achieved largely through Nelson's departure from the traditional tactical approach to sea battles. Conventional practice at sea battles was for the opposing forces to line up opposite each other and batter each other into submission.
It's totally free to subscribe to our channel, and we'll let you know when there's a new video to watch. The subscribe button is below the video, next to the like, share and comment icons. The link to our Facebook site is in the top comment right next to our link to explore the Sunderland Antiquarians website.